1888, 1952. So this is her Octavia Hatcher Smith. And she is legend here in Pikeville. And this is her son Jacob.
Sleeping on a pillow.
Jacob was named after Octavia's father, Jacob Smith. And that's actually where Octavia is buried. And then this is her husband, James Hatcher. Now every city has an urban legend, and Octavia Hatcher is Pikeville's urban legend. But she married James Hatcher, and they had their first and only child when she was 20. And shortly after, it died. This would be little Jacob here. Well, within a couple months, Octavia got bedbound, weak. She was only 20, and she passed away. Her husband, James, it was supposed to have been really hot. She was buried fairly quickly. But the urban legend is that afterwards, several people turned up, sick, and that they recovered. They went into like a, sleeping sickness. So basically, James Hatcher, thinking that maybe she was alive, he supposedly came up here, had her body exhumed, and it had bloody nails where she'd clawed the top of the coffin, and she was buried alive. So she's our Pike County buried alive story. So now I'll tell you some facts outside of the myth. She did die when she was 20, and she did die after giving birth to Jacob. And it's a very sad story either way, because she, there's no good ending to this. And James Hatcher was brokenhearted. He died, she died in 1891. He died in 1939. He was still buried next to her. He loved her, and he gave her this huge monument. And if you notice, she's facing right there. She is facing this way, which is where James Hatcher actually had a hotel, and he wanted this so that she was facing where he was. And what's kind of interesting is he did have a coffin in his hotel that was on display that had an emergency latch on it, which made people say, that maybe that's what started this whole rumor. But, maybe he was just scared of being buried alive outside of the Octavia Hatcher. But he was a very successful businessman, and it's kind of a shame that he just got lost in the legend of his wife. He is also known for telling a lot of stories, and he did tell a lot of ghost stories, and a lot of them mimic the Octavia Hatcher stories. So somewhere between the, you know, the truth and the non-truth is the truth, if that makes any sense. But there's no proof of the Octavia Hatcher story. There is nothing in the newspaper of the body being exhumed or anything like that. But they say that on her anniversary, that you can look up here and you'll see her walking around looking for her child. People come from all over the United States just to do video on her. I looked up the death certificate of James Hatcher. I was trying to get one of her, but I found his and it said he died of what looked like arthritis, which is unusual. The statue, there used to be a statue in her arm. If you notice, there's an arm missing. Apparently that got busted out of her statue and was laying on the ground, and so that's why they fenced this in, but sometimes it's open. Look at those mountains. This is Octavia Hatcher looking over the town of Pikeville. Except on some dark, gloomy nights, she said to turn her back on Pikeville. But today, she's gazing over Pikeville. And she's not alone, her family's with her. Some of these people back here are also relations. And at the end of the day, myth or not, legend or not, she was still a 21-year-old mother that died early before she got to live her life. Rest in peace, Octavia, Jacob, James, and everyone else. Somewhere up here, Leo's grandfather is buried. We've been looking every time we come up. He's supposed to be here, and the museum curator even said he was up here because he's he's on the wall down there at the Pikeville courthouse as being a war hero, but we can't find him. So we're wanting to do a story on him. We did the beginning of the story, but we can't find his headstone. There's really no one to ask. I mean, unless you live around here, you don't really understand how these cemeteries work. You just get kind of passed around and no one knows nothing, so to say. Do you find it?
I don't know what they are, but they're pretty. It's real too. It's not a fake plant. They're real. There's little multicolored little berries on it. Looks like blueberries, but no, it ain't blueberries. They're blueberries, but they're not blueberries.
So from Pikeville, Kentucky, Hillbilly Files out.
And I remember you drunk and crying the time you told me it felt like dying, 'cause you knew that we truth is, I'm no good for you, and you should know it by now. In case you don't